Welcome back, guys. A lot to cover here today, as always. So let's jump right in. We're going to kick it off with assessed property values, property tax assessments here in Southwest Florida. I'm seeing interesting trends occur. We have had some homes sell under their assessed value here. That's the value that the county determines, and that determines what you're taxed on, and depending on your millage rate. But yeah, it's interesting times as we're starting to see homes sell under these numbers, which I haven't experienced before. We'll get through some examples of this as well, but the run-up that we had here in pricing has been so dramatic so quickly, and subsequently, the downslide has also been so dramatic so quickly that it doesn't appear some of the counties have had time to catch up. So the 2024 assessed value on some of these homes has skyrocketed while their actual market value has fallen. And I think it's going to create potentially a big problem here. I'm very interested to see how many people are going to be looking to argue their property tax bills this year, in subsequent years, now that we've had prices slide, not just in Charlotte County, Sarasota County. As you guys can see, a lot of new construction around me today. I am in Westport here in Port Charlotte, doing a lot of work, showing a lot of places in here. Going to take you guys on a tour of one of their larger models here as well. Obviously, let me know what you think in the comments, but I think there could be a big problem brewing here in the Southwest Florida region. I know recently the Sarasota School District has just went on a hiring freeze. It's not unheard of, but there are some other things moving around from what I see and hear in county positions that would indicate belts are getting tightened. And it's going, I don't know if it's in anticipation of this or they know it's going on right now, but very interesting stuff happening where, I mean, the taxes on some of these homes are absolutely insane. And I've actually had people who've purchased well under what previous buyers recently bought the home for, and had the county reach out and say, hey, what's going on here? Why did this sell so low? Well, that's the market. That's the market right now. So I want to know, what do you guys think is going to be the outcome of this? Let me know in the comments below. Speaking of taxes, Realtor.com coming out and basically saying that there are millions of homeowners in danger of having too much equity and exceeding the capital gains tax exclusion now, because again, we've had such a high run up in prices in most areas of the country. And that got me thinking, are you trying to motivate these people to sell? Are you trying to say, well, you better sell now before your house gets too valuable, or you're going to owe way too much taxes on it? I don't know. What do you guys think about that? I'll link the article in the description, but that never really crossed my mind. And it got me thinking along the lines of, will they ever raise the capital gains tax exclusion on your primary residence? And I said to myself, well, if it's going to motivate people to sell, probably not. I don't know. I don't know if that's ever going to get changed. If you're single, it's $250,000 is the cap on your profit. You can usually get that untaxable if you've lived in the residence 2 of the previous 5 years. If you are a married couple, that home exclusion goes up to $500,000. But what happens when you bought a house in 1990, and now it's increased well over that capital gains exclusion? I don't think that's going to stop anybody from selling it. I think at the end of the day, they will still say, hey, I'll pay the taxes and I'm going to take the money. But it's interesting because the way they're trying to spin it in this article is, once you start hitting that equity threshold, you better sell. So I don't know if it's like a motivation to get people to list, which we don't need any more of that here, obviously, in this area. But it did strike me that they may never change this. Is this a built-in mechanism to make home ownership turnover rate basically stay at a certain level? What do you guys think about that? Let me know in the comments below. So let's take a look at an example of a home that recently sold. This was sent to me by a subscriber, selling under its assessed value. And I actually just closed a listing, the same thing happened to me. Okay, guys, this is the home that was sent in by a subscriber. Last sold for $425 here on June 20th. 4 beds, 3.5 baths, 3,000 square feet on over a half-acre lot down in Rotunda West. Sold for $425,000. Assessed at $747 grand. You're looking at a $12,500 tax bill for a home that just sold for under $300,000 less than the assessed value. And look at the jump from 2023 to 2024. We're talking 391 to 747. Now, an assessed value of 391 on a 425 sale seems about right. Now, this is what they're going to tax you on, guys. This has exemptions on it. At this point, this place was homesteaded. And you can go to the Charlotte County Property Appraiser, go to Show Value History, and you'll see in 2023, they had an exemption. This was a homestead exemption. Now, 2024, no exemption, and boom, it jumps up to basically market, what they thought market value was. But you're not going to see the whole story here, and let me show you why. This gets very dangerous. Now, don't get me wrong, this is insane for a taxable value to change like that, but they've pulled all the pictures off of Realtor.com, Zillow, all those sites. They're tending to do that a lot lately, and I have my own suspicions why. But I have it on the MLS. It's not the agents pulling these pictures off, guys. We're not doing it. We leave it on the MLS because we need it for comps. So just looking at this from public data, you would have no idea, one, this house is a foreclosure. This house went into foreclosure. Look at it. Obviously, it's beat up. It's not terrible. It's by any means, it's not destroyed. But certainly this is going to affect the value, and it's not going to be, this is not useful for a comparable sale if you were looking to pull comps in the area. But you wouldn't know that from just the public data. So is this absolutely insane that this sold for $425 and it's assessed at $750 with a $12,000 tax bill? Yes, but there are extenuating circumstances that you have to look into past that. The other example I have, which is my listing, it just sold for $650,000 on the water. Now, again, they took all my pictures off. I did not remove these photos. You guys may have seen this home on the channel before. I had it featured. It's a waterfront corner lot here in Port Charlotte. We did have to price very aggressively to get it sold, but we sold it for $650,000, and the assessed value is $750,000. We're $100,000 off. And look at the history here, a 49% increase in 2023. This home was homesteaded in 2023. And again, guys, we can go to the property appraiser site and see, yes, it has an exemption on it for 2024. 2023, also an exemption, but 2022, no exemption. 21, no exemption. 20, no exemption. This thing resold in 20. So take a look at the insanity of the assessed value increases since 2019. This was sitting at $251,000 in 2019. Now, there have been improvements, guys. The market has increased as well. But you're talking a $4,000 tax bill that's now ballooned to $11,600. A 50% increase when it resold in 2020, bringing it up to $7,000. Again, the owners did not homestead it. So they got hit with another 20% the next year, 10% the next year, and 50% in 2023. This is crazy. Like, how are people expected to absorb these kind of increases? Now, it did get homesteaded like we saw in 2023, and the next year's taxes subsequently went up slightly, 1.6%, because they get capped. But it sold at $650, and it's got an assessed value of $750. So like the previous property, guys, how is this going to get handled with the county come tax time? What do you guys think is going to happen with these types of properties? Because this isn't the only two. This is going on all over the county. So when you see stuff like that happening, guys, what do you think that means for local budgets? What do you think that means for areas around Southwest Florida where this is happening currently, starting to happen? Let me know in the comments. It's really interesting times. Again, haven't seen it before, so interested to see what you guys think about it. But running contradictory to the original article I mentioned here, that people are going to basically be forced to sell to avoid a huge capital gains tax, we have a lot of outlets and articles, and even agents to some degree, sort of trying to shift the narrative right now that the delisting, which I have mentioned, has begun. They're getting on board with that, but saying that basically like, hey, buyers, you missed your chance. These sellers are taking their ball and going home. That's what you get, is sort of the vibe that is coming out of this. And I don't necessarily agree with that. I mean, there's still here, at least, plenty of inventory on the market? Is it as high as it was during our peak in the season? Absolutely not. It's gone down. But that's what happens this time of year. It's expected because this is not generally our prime selling season. As you guys know, that's January through May. So I don't know. It's almost like the vibe I'm getting is like, haha, now look, they took their houses off the market. Okay, nobody wanted to buy it anyway. I mean, or it would have been sold. If it was priced properly, the market would have spoken and they would have purchased it. So not quite sure it's the flex that they think it is or the way it's being portrayed. You know, we know they're going to come back, as many of them have expressed. That's a lot of what the media is focusing on, as well as the sellers don't have to sell and they will wait till they get their pricing. Now, we've argued if that's a good or bad idea. Very risky right now with all the economic uncertainty, but also, hey, that's another at least 8 months of carrying costs. So I don't know. I don't know. Again, I don't necessarily agree with that play, but that's sort of the narrative that's forming is like, oh yeah, well, this is what you get, buyers. Like, okay, well, they'll go come through here, someplace like here in Westport, they'll buy new construction. That's probably cheaper. I did have some friends of the channel come down recently, and we did some resale tours in the price range they were looking at. And it was a very easy decision after a few of the homes for them to say, I'm buying a new house. No way. Because the pricing is still so out of whack on some of these resales, especially pool homes. And like I said, pool prices are not as crazy as they once were. People are willing to forego the initial pool and then put it in later when you consider what a 20, 30-year-old pool house is asking, and you have to fix everything in it. Then you have all the other obstacles. So people are opting to say, no, I'll just buy new construction. Now, because resale sellers are being so stubborn and people are still getting pushed aggressively to new construction, it's one of the reasons I wanted to come into Westport today because, like I said, I've been touring a lot of homes here, and I did see a pretty good priced one. They're willing to make deals with you too, from what I understand, but I did see a very nice house that I thought was a reasonable price. I'm going to take you guys through this tour. You let me know what you think once we're done. So we're going to take a look at this spec home built by D.R. Horton here in Westport. This is 16008 Crofton Springs. 3 beds, 3 baths, 2,200 plus square feet. Currently with a suggested retail price of $369,000. Big $1,000 price drop here recently. Let's see what we got. Okay, guys, I tried to make this quick, but this is a big house. So it's got a couple of really cool features. I like the elongated entryway. Nice separation through the living area, the 2 guest beds right when you come in here on the right, obviously with a guest bath. Gives you plenty of space if you're down here for privacy because of that long, extremely long hallway. But you'll see it's got a couple of other cool things going on here as well. The ceilings are elevated. I like the size of the guest rooms. I think they're a perfectly suitable size for an office, or if you want to use these for 2 bedrooms for people up front. It splits the house up nicely. Again, look at this. Just this hallway is crazy. It's just, you've got your den here on the right, which we will get to. You've got a half bath right by the garage entry. So this is going to serve as your living bath. And the garage is super deep. So I mean, if you have like 4 sedans, I would not be surprised if you could stack 4 cars in here. You could put 2 cars in here comfortably and still have a ton of storage. That's one of the cool features I really like about this house. I'm going to skip the laundry room area for now. I'll give you a quick peek into the bath. Again, just a half bath, but I'll get back to that laundry room because it cuts through the primary bedroom. I really like it. The den as well. Decently sized, again, kind of in its own area. It's not visible from the living room per se. It's not going to mess with the 2 guest beds down the hallway. And this is an extremely large living space. The elevated ceilings and the tray help accentuate that. I think the kitchen is a nice size. The island's got enough room for 4 chairs. So, I mean, you could really eat there. You could have half the family sitting there while you're cooking and entertaining. Decent sized pantry. But just kind of a cool layout. It feels very large in here. And you still obviously have your dedicated dining area, should you so choose, where we're headed right now in front of us. But I want to give everybody a spin to see what it would look like if you're standing at the island. No double sink, 1 sink. I like that. We'll also get you out to the backyard here shortly because the piece of land that this sits on is pretty big. You can see the fence is way back there, and the houses behind it are actually separated by what looks to be a green belt from the aerial shot, so you get a little extra distance there. Let's take you one more spin through the living area. This is what it would look like if you were coming out of the primary bedroom, and we'll get you into the primary suite. Okay, so plenty of room in here. I don't know if that's a king size bed. I'm gonna withhold, but it doesn't look like you'd have any sort of issue putting a king size bed in there. I had a little trouble getting the lights back on. I took my wife, she comes with me sometimes, goes through the places to look at them. She shut all the lights off before she left. It's just realtor training, what I've trained her to do. So I got to pop something back on. One more look at the primary. You do get a tub and a shower here, which I think is nice. I'm getting a lot of requests for tubs lately. They went out of style for a little bit, and I think, builders rush to kind of take them out of their models too quickly. But you get a great size stand-up shower. I did sneak turning on the primary closet light there again. This is an awesome size walk-in. Again, this is one of my favorite features of this home. Taylor Morrison does this as well around here. You can come straight through to the laundry area, which is awesome. I mean, you're right in your primary closet. So I will take you back through here. This was your garage door that we entered, that we're coming to right there on the right. I like to show everybody the entryway, so what it would look like if you were leaving. Again, you can see it's extremely elongated. And then we'll give you another shot of the living area, and I'll show you the backyard, because it's got a nice covered lanai space too. I mean, it's more than sufficient. If you want to add a pool back here, there's plenty of room. You couldn't fill that with a pool if you tried. I didn't like how I got too close to the screen. It buzzed like that, but I don't know. Let me know what you guys think of this at the $370 price point in the comments below. So sellers are still digging in, and these options are still out there. Some areas are worse than others. Like I've been noticing in Venice, around South Venice and other areas there, sellers are just kind of digging in hard right now. They're still stuck on numbers that I don't believe are obtainable there anymore. But last year and for the beginning of the season, they held up pretty steady. So, it took time in Charlotte County, Northport, Lee County, for basically that information to be disseminated on a wide scale, and then sellers really turn around and go, oh, things are changing. Because as you guys know, the Venice market from our last report up there is down as well, but they don't seem to be getting the memo. And all it does is drive people towards these options. It's just what it's going to do at the end of the day. I mean, I've seen some really crazy stuff. We had a friend of the channel. We put in what I thought was a fair offer up there. Actually, several. I put in several fair offers up there, and sellers have just not handled it well. And the last one that we did, the agent came back and said, well, I'll give you two examples. The first one we did, the agent came back and said, hey, the seller had a higher offer on the house already, so they don't want to take this one. Oh, they should have taken that. You should have taken that. That offer's gone. You should have taken that. And I don't know if I would have told me that. I don't know if I would have used that as reasoning, because then I had to start suspecting, well, is this person still in play? How long ago was that? Was it 6 months ago? Was it a week ago? If we give you a competitive offer, are you now going to take the buyer's offer and run back to that person and say, can you match it, and create a shadow bidding war? Because that has happened several times this season to both Sherry and I. So I don't know if I would have gone that route. The other route someone took was, hey, listen, the seller overpaid for this house a few years ago. So, so basically your buyer should now too. Get what? So that's some of the things I've been seeing on the ground in the Venice area. Doesn't make sense to me, but that's their prerogative at the end of the day. So other things, like I'm trying to do land deals and we're finding turtles on the land, and the seller's like, too bad, take it or leave it. Let me tell you something, guys. You find a gopher tortoise, the quotes that we got, we found 2 burrows on a piece of land, and the quotes that we got just to relocate these 2 turtles was to the tune of $13,000 to $15,000 if they had to come off the property. And the seller's like, too bad, deal with it. I'm like, what? In my opinion, that should be disclosed now, since we've made you aware, but obviously couldn't keep that deal together. So, touch and go, other areas, sellers are very willing and knowledgeable on what's going on, willing to work with buyers. But seems like it's touch and go, guys. Like it's every different scenario. So you got to play it by ear on each one. I always say, if you want to get an aggressive deal, you got to be willing to walk away. There's going to be another one out there, usually, unless it's the diamond in the rough. But generally, there's going to be something else. What's happening, my friend? Doing good. How are you? Doing a real estate update. Okay. Yeah. Showing some houses down here. Yeah. I appreciate you checking, though. And like I always say, guys, when I'm in these HOAs, that's the kind of stuff you want to see. You want neighbors being like, hey, who's this guy? You want the neighbors to come out and be like, what are you doing, buddy? Like, that's why you buy in a homeowners association. So I respect that. And I like when I see it. You know, if I was to walk through an entire neighborhood and no one asked what I was doing, then you're kind of like, oh, well, come on, nobody's keeping an eye on things. But there's cameras and Ring doorbells everywhere in here. So that's always a good sign to me at the end of the day. So with that being said, guys, that's going to do it for me today. If you like this video, give me a like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.